welcome back to another She's the Boss interview. Today I'm joined by Jodie Cook. She is the owner of JC Social Media and the founder of Clever Tykes. Please tell us a little bit more about both businesses and how you became an entrepreneur.
Okay, I started JC Social Media back in 2011 when I was 22. All it was based on was the fact that I just had some experience doing kind of social media stuff, and I basically just wanted to update Facebook and update Twitter for different companies. It was as simple as that, and my business plan, I guess, when I started was just to get clients, and so I kind of set about doing that, set up a little website, started networking, started telling people what I was going to do, and then got my first client. And then once you get one client, the rest feel like easier because you can say, well, I've already got one client, and then it just went from there really. And then so now it's 6.5 years later, and we're a team of 16, running the social media for all types of companies, kind of big and small, based all over the world. And then a couple of years into running JC Social Media, I started doing a lot of research into what it is that means that some people feel like it's not a risk and like they can just go start their own business, and some people would think, no, it's a massive risk, I'd never ever think to do this, and what are the reasons for those two different mindsets. And so much of it is your entrepreneurial kind of influences when you're growing up. And so the idea for Clever Tykes, which is a series of children's storybooks, is that we want to introduce entrepreneurial role models to kids who might not have them in their parents or around them, so that it can give more people the idea that actually, yeah, I could start my own business when I grow up. And so that's what the storybooks are designed to do.
And both amazing businesses, and both have done very well. Clever Tykes I see quite often in the media. You've won awards as well. And obviously you've grown JC Social Media to a team of 16. And you've done all that in quite a short space of time. What would you say has been your key to success?
Being like shamelessly relentless in following people up. So one of the key things that stands out for me is that when we started Clever Tykes, we decided that we wanted to be like kind of backed by the government, and just have a backing of, these are good resources, this will create social mobility. And so we decided that we wanted to take them to Downing Street. And so I found that Lord Young was at the time the Prime Minister's advisor for enterprise, and so we were like, right, we need to go to Downing Street, we need to get in front of Lord Young. And I pretty much had the point of, like, you know, just the point before restraining order, to try and get down there, meet him, talk to him about the books, and then I also found that there was a competition to find examples of UK businesses which would encourage entrepreneurship. So I entered that as well, and kept kind of following them up to see who would be taken. And in the end, I was that like big on my perseverance. I went twice to Downing Street in the same week, once to meet Lord Young and once as a winner of that competition. And so the result of that was I got to meet Lord Young twice, got to talk to him about everything we were doing. And he wrote about Clever Tykes in his government report, which was called Enterprise for All, about how schools can incorporate enterprise education. And that being in that report has been the basis of like everything we've achieved. So it definitely worked, having that goal and then just basically like shamelessly going for it until we got the result that we were after.
And what a result it's been.
Yeah, it was great. It was fun, and definitely getting the pictures in front of number 10 was really good. And we use that picture on the front of all our kind of proposal documents and on the website and everything, because it's just straight away gives that kind of credibility that we wouldn't have had otherwise.
Mm-hmm. And was your kind of desire to find out about the different entrepreneurial mindsets because you felt that you didn't have kind of that entrepreneurial inspiration directly around you, or was it because you did?
Because I did, yeah, because my mom's always been my entrepreneurial role model, because she's been self-employed for kind of 15 years or so. So I've always grown up with a very independent mindset. I've just been that's been instilled to me from such a young age. I did a TEDx talk recently, and I talked about how from as far as I can remember, I've always been in charge of packing my own suitcase whenever our family went on holiday. Even when I was like 4, it wasn't like, oh, mom would do it for me. It was like, Jodie, go pack your own suitcase. So I kind of learned how to just deal with things on my own. And so it's all it would have been second nature to my family, just kind of teaching me in that way. And so these are exactly the kind of things like resilience, creativity, resourcefulness that we wanted to almost bottle, put in storybooks, and ensure that other kids have that experience as well.
And with that upbringing, although you said it was kind of instilled in you to be independent, did you always know that you was going to be an entrepreneur, or was it just, I know that this is there and maybe one day I'll do it?
I don't know if I always knew, because growing up, I had jobs, and I was a waitress, and I worked in a kind of print and promotion company. But being instilled with such a sense of independence means that I'm always questioning things. And so when you're always questioning things, you're questioning the processes that are going on in the businesses you're working for. And then eventually that leads to a sense of, oh, right, yeah, okay, I get that. I could do this. And it makes it more accessible. So I think there was probably a tipping point at which I thought, I get this. I get the people around me, what they're doing. And I feel like this is something I could do as well. And that's probably when I decided that I was going to.
Mm-hmm. And you decided you was going to, and you said you was networking, etc. How did you, was it through networking that you got your first client? Tell us a little bit more about that process. Because the first client is often the hardest one to get.
Yeah. So I just, when I decided I was going to start my own social media company, that's when I just told everyone I knew that that's what I was doing. At the time, actually, I didn't have a name because I hadn't got that far. So I was at a networking event where we had to go around the room and everyone had to talk about themselves. And I was like, oh my God, I don't have a company name. Like, I was just sort of like Jodie Cook Social Media Management, I guess. And then in the room, there was a guy who had a company called JP Entertainment. There was JS Technical Services. There was ML Accountancy. And then I just kind of went, JC Social Media. So it was kind of a like snap 2-second decision on what to call my company. But then I pretty much just talked about the stuff I knew, the fact that I had like, I guess, commercial experience and experience in marketing. And then I spent so much time on case studies. I looked at what so many different companies were doing, because this is back in 2011. Like, it wasn't huge then for businesses. It was definitely not the scale it was now. And then my first client was a company called Blackpool Advocacy. So I drove up the M6 to Blackpool and went to see them. Went with so much like excitement and enthusiasm about like, oh my God, I could do all this stuff for them. That the CEO just pretty much bought into it, and he was like, yeah, okay, great, we'll see what you can do. And then I was like, oh my God, it just happened. And then I drove back via the Trafford Centre to get some new clothes.
As you do.
And then started doing that work, and then I guess for each other kind of prospect meeting that I secured from there, it was always like, well, this is the work I've done for Blackpool Advocacy, and I wrote that all up as a big case study, and then used that to kind of propel it forward. And then now me and my sales team, we just know which case studies that we've got that we talk to people about.
Mm-hmm. And how did it feel? Like, what was the feeling afterwards of, I've got my first client, my second client? Like, what could you feel that the momentum was building to get you to where you are now, or was it just happened and you woke up one day and actually I've got a successful business here?
It definitely happened like gradually, but then I guess it was more kind of get clients first and then think about how to organize everything afterwards. But it got to the stage within probably about 8 months where I had a full-time job pretty much doing freelance social media services for all these different clients. And that's when it got to a real decision point, because I thought I could do this forever. I could just kind of do this, have my own clients, run my own work, and carry on like that, which I know a lot of people do. Or I could start hiring now and start actually turning this into more of a business operation. And so that's the choice I took at that time. And then so I hired Jason, who who was great and who basically took over a lot of the different client work. So I trained him, and we very much, like, I was kind of starting to think of the processes on how I wanted all the work to be carried out, and so he basically followed that. And then that's been the like blueprint for how we hire now, to make sure that everyone's kind of up to the standard that we expect for our client work.
Mm-hmm. I love that in these interviews there's so many recurring themes, and processes is something that I'm always banging on about, and the importance of having processes mapped out to enable you to scale up your business. So based on what you said, clearly making sure that you did that had a significant impact on your business's growth.
Definitely. Well, and now we've got the JC Social Media Manual, which is, I think it's kind of it's like a Excel document that we export into different manual documents, but there's like 40 or 50 of them, and every single process that happens within our company is mapped out, as in, even when you send a report to a client, this is the text that goes with it, this is the follow-up procedure, this, like, it's all there, so that if anyone's not sure about anything, they don't ask a question that someone's already answered loads of times. They just consult the manual, and then if it's not in the manual, they ask the question, and then it goes in the manual. So it's a constantly changing, evolving document that enables people. Well, I guess it's the theme again of resourcefulness and independence. We want everyone in our team to be resourceful and independent themselves. We don't want to hire people just to answer questions that have been answered over and over again.
Mm-hmm. I love that, because that is a core tenet of everything that I kind of say to all of the clients that I work with. And sometimes I think that they think here she goes again, going on about processes and an operations manual, but yeah, you've done it, and it's obviously had a really positive impact on the business. In taking on staff, obviously you had a process of how to do that, but emotionally, did it feel like, I have arrived, I now have people working for me, now this is a business?
Yeah, the first time I was kind of the interviewer side of the interview table, like that was surreal, because you're like, oh my god, I have to play grown-ups and like ask really like sensible questions and things, but then like you kind of get used to it after that, don't you? We like still now in sort of interviews, the first stage is always to get on a level with people so that they're relaxed, so that they're just happy chatting. And definitely I see interviews as just as much them interviewing us as it is us interviewing them, because ultimately we want people who are going to get our vibe, who are going to enjoy coming to work every day, and aren't just going to sort of think, oh yeah, I'll take this job, but I'm not really sure about them. Like, we want people who full on like get it. So we do a lot of work to make sure that we are portraying ourselves to potential employees in the best possible way as well.
Mm-hmm. What do you think has been the highest point in your entrepreneurial journey so far?
The highest point was definitely securing our biggest Clever Tykes deal, which was at the end of last year. So at the end of 2016 we secured it, and it was rolled out in January 2017. And so when we created Clever Tykes, the children's storybooks and resources, we started going and trying to get like small sponsorship deals so that different companies could sponsor them into primary schools. Mm-hmm. And so we were having some success with that, and companies were sponsoring sort of 5 different primary schools. But then we thought, this is so much work to get one sponsor to do 5 schools. What if we just focus on getting one sponsor to do every single school in the UK? And there are 24,500 primary schools in the UK. So we thought, yeah, how hard can it be? So then we kind of call it elephant hunting. So we basically started elephant hunting. Who is there? What company is there out there that wants to reach key stage 2 children, wants to be seen positively by primary schools, by parents, by teachers? And we basically started approaching people. And then actually, as a result of going to Downing Street, getting included in the government report, we got to be fairly like getting on well with an MP who he had a meeting one time with someone called Martin from Lloyds Banking Group, and he has always been a big advocate of Clever Tykes, and he told Martin about it and what we were trying to do. So we had a meeting with Lloyds Banking Group to talk about this project, and they seemed really really like keen on it and really ready to do it. So we put quite a lot of work into exactly what it would look like when the rollout would happen, and then they gave us the sign off to put Clever Tykes storybooks and resources into every primary school in the UK. So then that happened, that rollout happened in January 2017, and pretty much the whole of last year was like making sure that happened. Like, it's such a massive delivery of books and resources and following the schools up and making sure that everything was in place support wise. But it's just opened so many doors since then. So Ben, my co-founder, who's also my husband, and I both got included in the Forbes 30 under 30 list of social entrepreneurs in Europe in January as well. And then it's led to like keynote, it's like speakers for different conferences, and also different international kind of book sales. So it's just like one thing that's led to another thing that's led to another thing. That was like the kind of big top of the mountain, but then it's still happening and continuing to roll on. We actually made something on the Clever Tykes website. There's a blog post called Snakes and Ladders, like our kind of whole journey, as in like, this happened, it was really good and it pushed us up here, and then we met this person and he said this won't work, and then it pushed us down, and like there's lots of kind of, you can see all the ups and downs of the journey there, and kind of who we met along the way that led to something else.
And going nicely to the next question, what would you say, if any, low points have you experienced?
So definitely not a kind of low point, but like more of a challenge to start with was with JC social media, was basically that we had to, it was very much an education process, because companies at the time didn't have budgets for social media. They had budgets for marketing, which went on print, radio, cold calling, that kind of stuff. But we were essentially asking companies to find a budget or to reallocate budget from somewhere else. So that was definitely a challenge. And so putting all the work in back then to almost like help, I guess, kind of establish the industry, which is what all the kind of social media agencies at the time were helping to do, has meant that now the sales process is a lot easier, because it's not, do you use a company for social media? It's like, who do you use? So now it's expected that a company does get help, and that's where we fit in. So yeah, definitely a challenge starting out.
And you mentioned earlier that Clever Tykes you run in conjunction with your husband. How have you managed the process of mixing business with pleasure? Because you always hear people say, don't ever mix business with pleasure, it doesn't work. How have you managed that and made sure that it has worked?
So I'm always not sure about the whole like business / pleasure type thing, and how different things need to be, because I'm not explaining this very well, but basically I just have a theory that so much of life, if you let it, can be a boom and a bust situation. So like, you overindulge at Christmas to then do dry January, you work yourself into the ground and then need a 2-week holiday. You kind of have amazing highs where you're like, oh my God, I won this client, all this stuff's amazing, and then crushing lows where it's like, oh my God, someone's leaving, everything's going wrong. And I'm always aiming not to have that boom and bust situation, to instead develop a sustainable way of living and working, so that whatever you're doing, you could do it all the time. And so I sort of see that with business and pleasure as well, because I'm not like a different person depending on whether you're talking to me in my personal life or in my work life. I'm just sort of me. And so that consistency in everything means that, like, yeah, of course you can work with your husband. Like, why would it matter? Because you're just people who are sometimes talking about work and sometimes are talking about the gym. Like, it's kind of, it's not an issue at all. And I think a lot of it is based on trying to maintain a consistent way of being rather than having a boom and bust mentality.
Does your husband have a similar mentality though?
Yeah, massively.
If he it might work a bit differently. So
yeah, I know. Can you imagine?
Yeah, you found your perfect fit there. I don't know if I could work with my husband, because I am that boom on boss. I'm like, yay! Oh my God, it's the end of the world, which in business makes for a very, very dramatic life. So I think I'm going to try and take it out of your book and try to be a bit more.
Yeah, avoid the drama. So avoid the drama, and I try and avoid the people who attract the drama as well. But I wouldn't have said you were one of those.
No, because I outwardly you probably wouldn't know. It's my husband that has to deal with it. Hence why I don't think we do well, because he is very on a kind of straight line and he kind of balances me. So I guess everyone finds the person that works for them and works with them. Moving forward, what are some of the kind of biggest aspirations that you have for you as an entrepreneur and for the businesses?
So, well, I guess the main goal is we want to get Clever Tykes storybooks and resources into every primary school in the world, starting a country at a time, because I guess now we've signed off 23,500 primary schools in the UK. When you look at like Australia, which has got 8,000 primary schools, and you look at Canada, which has got 10,000 primary schools, and you look at America, which has got 90,000, like it kind of doesn't seem like such a big thing now.
Yeah, that's an amazing way of looking at it.
So in my head, there's a world map with a different company who's sponsoring each different country, and we've got one secured, and we're talking to a few more, and we just need to get it to be the whole world. So that's the main Clever Tykes goal. And then the Josie social media goals, so now we're a team of 16. Emily is our general manager, so she basically runs the team and the clients, and I kind of work more on the sales side. So the goal with Josie social media has always been to surprise and delight our clients and to keep our current clients happy, and we find that is what leads to growth. Like, really, our clients don't care whether we're the size we are or whether we're double or triple. All they care about is that the work is being done for them well. And so that's what we do, and the growth sort of takes care of itself, which I guess sounds like a really boring kind of unambitious answer, but I know that all we need to focus on is the day-to-day of doing really good work.
I don't think it's a boring answer. I think it's quite in keeping with who you said that you are. So I guess that's consistency and continuing to do an excellent job. So no, not boring at all. What keeps you motivated? You're clearly very motivated, and do you ever have times where you think, actually, I just want to go and travel the world for a year and not bother with this?
So I guess in keeping with the whole like avoiding boom and bust situations, like I do travel the world quite a lot. I'm in San Diego.
I know that.
I'm in San Diego at the moment. So my husband and I, we spend about 4 months of each year living and working in different countries. So we go for a month, we join a gym, we get a flat, we work remotely, we talk to the team back at home, we have Skype calls, Zoom calls, anything like this, and then go and explore as well. So it's kind of built into my lifestyle to do so, and hopefully will continue to be. Like, there's a big world map on my wall at home, which has got a pointer of everywhere we've spent a month, and so I just look at it and it's like, there's so many countries, there's so many cities, like so we're just kind of building those up. So I guess I don't feel like I need to stop everything and go for a year, because I'm trying to create everything so it's sustainable, so we could just do this forever.
Well, that kind of answers my next question, which was going to be around how do you fit it all in, but I guess by moving around, by having your processes and having the team, that's how you fit it in.
Yeah, I have a lot of routine flexibility. So the whole kind of concept of routine, as in having your next like 2 weeks planned out to the hour, like really scares me. So I prefer just being able to kind of pick that up, and know that the kind of day-to-day running everyday processes that need to happen, that is someone's job to do that, which is what's in place at the moment. And then I don't have a TV, which I think helps free up time.
Wow.
So there's no time spent. I don't have Netflix. I have Amazon Prime, because it came with my Amazon Prime, like it came with the thing I had already, and then they were like, oh, here's all this TV and video, but I try and avoid it as far as possible. And then I compete in powerlifting as well, so spend a lot of time in the gym training as well.
And I guess that would be very good for your mental capacity. They say keeping fit helps the brain stay working.
Yeah, definitely. And it's always focusing on like putting up bigger numbers and winning competitions and stuff like that, but it's very separate to work stuff. It definitely helps focus your brain as well.
Mm-hmm. Did you feel, going back to kind of the idea of you having a team and you working remotely, did you feel any sort of reservations about delegating Because I know and this was definitely me when I started my first business. And for a lot of people out there that might be a sole trader at the moment and want to take on staff and grow their business, but are very precious about, this is my thing and I don't want anything to go wrong with it. How did you ever have that feeling inside? And if so, how did you overcome it? And if you didn't, why didn't you? I guess.
So in my head is always train and trust. And so you can, like, you've got to just train someone in how you want something to be done. Maybe sometimes it might be like, right, I'm gonna do this, handle this situation this time, but I want you to listen, take notes, and then the next time it's you doing it. And try and always be on that process of, this is how I expect it to be done, now you do it, and then we'll have a feedback loop in. But then after that, like, yeah, the trust, it just has to happen, doesn't it? And I guess there's going to be a couple of maybe mistakes and oversights on the journey, but ultimately you can't just hold on to everything forever, because it's not sustainable and you'll get frazzled and no one benefits then. So you might as well try it out.
3 pieces of advice you'd give to somebody starting out on their entrepreneurial journey.
Okay, so one is just on the theme of receiving advice in general. I think sometimes advice, depending on who it comes from, will not be the most helpful to you, because if your values don't align with the person giving the advice, then it's probably not going to be the right thing for you to do. So always like questioning what people are saying and telling you to do, and working out, actually, well, is that the right thing to do or is that not? So another thing which I read there's a book called Anything You Want by a guy called Derek Sivers, who and the advice that he gives is, for any situation that you're asked, any kind of event that you're asked to go to, anything that you're asked to do, always apply the rule hell yeah or no. And so it's either, yes, definitely I want to do this, this is going to be great, or it's just, no, I'm sorry, this doesn't align with what I'm trying to do. I can help you out in another way, but I'm not going to be able to kind of speak at your event or do whatever it is. And another kind of offshoot of that is, every opportunity that comes forward, or every kind of thing that might take up some of your time, rate it on a scale of 0 to 10, but you can't use 7, because 7's always the safe number, right? Everyone goes for 7, but you have to give it above or below. And if it's below, don't do it. And if it's above, then yep, go for it. And that could apply to hiring, that could apply to like social situations, or lots of different things. But it means that ultimately you're filling your time with the stuff that you really, really want to do and really will add value. So that's 2 pieces of advice, isn't it? And I guess the last one is sort of, let yourself be naive and don't take yourself super seriously. Because I guess I look back at my first kind of couple of years, like starting out, and I was so naive, like so green, so just didn't care, didn't take anything super seriously. And I think looking back now, if I'd have gone, oh, well, what will that person think, and how will I look in this situation, I'd have really, maybe I wouldn't have kind of gone for it as much as I did. So just kind of chilling out. No one cares what you're doing. No one's taking you as seriously as you're taking yourself. So there's no point worrying about it. So I guess chill out is my third piece of advice.
Which I think kind of epitomizes the whole interview, really. Chill out, relax, don't get frazzled, which is the kind of diametrically opposite kind of ideals of myself. So I'm definitely going to take all that on board. Thank you so much. I've really enjoyed speaking to you. If people want to find out more about either one of your businesses or about yourself, where can they go to find out more?
So everything's on jodiecook.com, and then I'm on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, everything, and that's all linked in there, so you'll be able to find me.
Fabulous. Well, enjoy the rest of your trip, and thank you so much for joining, and wish you every success. And for those of you who are watching, if you've enjoyed this video, please click the like button. Please write a comment if there's anything that Jodie says that's resonated with you. And if you haven't already done so, please subscribe to the channel so that you can get the latest videos directly to your inbox. Thanks for watching.